Good afternoon, Tuscaloosa, Internet World, West Alabama, right here in downtown Northport. This is the Joe Gaither Show right here on BamaCentral, BamaCentral.com. You're watching us, of course, on BamaCentral, the Sports Illustrated home for your Alabama Crimson Tide. I am Joe Gaither. You're seeing us on YouTube, Facebook, and Twitter, as well on Insta, and you're listening to us on Spotify, Apple Podcasts, and on Amazon. We are here on a Tuesday edition of the Joe Gaither Show right here on BamaCentral. And whoo, we are sorry. First, we are sorry. We missed you yesterday. I was feeling a bit under the weather on Monday. Didn't really do a whole lot of anything, so I apologize to you guys for not seeing you on Monday. And we're back here on a Tuesday, and we're going to recap the weekend because what else are you going to do on a bye week? Welcome in. It's Bama bye week, so we're going to try to have as much fun as we can. Of course, we encourage you guys to follow us at Joe Gaither 6 on all the social media machines. You can find us on Twitter, X, Facebook, Instagram, Snapchat, YouTube at Joe Gaither 6. Send me your comments, your questions, your queries, and complaints. We are here first before we get into Alabama and Tennessee, the big old weekend win for Alabama. Whoo, what a weekend it was. Maybe that's why I was under the weather yesterday. How many cigars did you smoke over the weekend? Enjoying Alabama's big old win, 34-20 over Tennessee. Yes, sir, Wendell Hare. How about that comeback? It was a beautiful comeback. Alabama down 13 points at halftime. And how many of you counted Alabama out? How many of you were firing Tommy Rees, were firing Kevin Steele, were getting rid of Jalen Milroe, were dumping all the running backs and jumping off the bandwagon? Not me. I was a little bit nervous, definitely a little bit nervous. Before we get into the ball game, we can encourage you to subscribe and find our other Bama Central Broadcasting Network podcasts. Our friends, Blue Collar Unplugged, just dropped their newest episode to celebrate the start of a new season. Blake Byler, Jacob Pickle, Matthew Gibson, the trio, bringing you all things Bama basketball related. They are there, Blue Collar Unplugged. You can find them, of course, wherever podcasts are found, Spotify, Apple Podcasts, most likely. And of course, you can find them right there on the front page of BamaCentral.com. Those guys are bringing you all things Bama basketball, as Bama basketball just had their preseason, their secret scrimmage against the TCU Horned Frogs. So we encourage you to follow those guys and listen to those. And we won't talk about the TCU Horned Frogs secret scrimmage, even though we want to. Oh, Grant Nelson and Sam Walters going crazy. Yes, Alabama did lose, in case you're living under a rock. Alabama lost, but Mark Sears and several Alabama players did not play in the game. Our guys at Blue Collar Unplugged are talking about the secret scrimmage on their first episode, and we encourage you guys to follow them. The kids are chatty this morning. This afternoon. You got the dog and the cat below us. We've had a fun weekend, really resting. Hey, what's wrong? We're live here, buddy. You need to go out? Look, here. Go. Yep, you can go. There we go. We'll let the cat on out, and that way he can go do what he wants to do. All right, so welcome back in. We're going to talk about Alabama beating Tennessee over the weekend. Yeah. Were you one of the ones that gave up over the weekend? What are we going to talk about first? Oh, my gosh, there's so many storylines from this game. I want to talk about Josh Heupel going for it on fourth down several times. I want to talk about Josh Heupel's comments or lack thereof on the officials. I want to talk about the defense, the defensive adjustments on the game. I want to talk about the edge pressure. I want to talk about Dallas Turner and Chris Braswell. I want to talk about Jalen Milroe, of course. I want to talk about the crowd. The crowd very, very into the game. I want to give them a big old shout out because they really stepped up and brought it. They brought it much more against Tennessee than they have all year long. Give them a big old kudos and shout out. I want to talk about Jahad Campbell. I want to talk about Kool-Aid McKinstry, his punt returning or lack thereof. And after we get done talking about the Alabama game, I want to talk about Michigan a little bit. I want to talk about Michigan and their scouting practices. And I want to just talk about the college football landscape. Okay, so let's get into the game. Alabama's down 20-7 at halftime. And how many of you were giving up? How many of you were ready to turn the TV off? How many of you were canceling your plans for Atlanta in December? How many of you were punting on championship aspirations after going down 20-13. Now, look, okay. The first drive was not good. The first drive was really not good. Alabama coming out in really their odd front. Coach Saban admitted that. They came out in an odd front, and that really disrupted the back end coverage. And I think that hurt Alabama both stopping the run and stopping the pass. And I think Coach did think that was going to be the right answer going into the game, but quickly abandoned that. All right, first drive of the game, Tennessee goes right down the field, scores a touchdown. Let me click on our drives here. It was a 8-play, 75-yard drive, really right down the field. 2.5 minutes? Yeah, 2.5 minutes, ending, of course, with the Squirrel White touchdown over Chris Braswell, 39-yard touchdown pass over Chris Braswell. And many of you were like myself thinking, what in the world is Chris Braswell doing out there in pass coverage trying to chase down Tennessee's pretty much fastest receiver and likely best receiver after Brew McCoy. After Brew McCoy went down with injury in the South Carolina game. Unfortunate for Brew McCoy. And we hate that for anybody. We don't want injuries for anybody, really, whether they're with Alabama or with our opposition. But, okay, first drive of the game, you're thinking, what the bleep? What the bleep are we doing? You got Chris Braswell, an outside linebacker, running in coverage 39 yards down the field, and Joe Milton hits him over the top for a beautiful touchdown pass. And it was beautiful. Give them credit where credit is due. They go up 7-0. And from there, really, the Alabama offense, oh my gosh, the Alabama offense, it took them ages. It took them, well, not ages. It took them a hot minute to get going. They went punt, fumble, and then punt through the first couple of drives. Terrible. Punt, fumble, punt. Not good. So they went 9 yards. 9 plus 23 is 32. Minus 2 is 30 yards. They ended up getting, 66 yards of total offense before they really got things going with a 9-play, 59-yard drive, touchdown drive that got Alabama really kind of back into the ball game with, Jermaine Burton's 10-yard reception. And goodness gracious, Jermaine Burton, I have said it already on this show. Many people maybe haven't heard it before, but going into the year, yes, Jermaine Burton, I was out on you. I was out on Jermaine Burton. I thought that you were not really going to be able to step up. I thought that you were immature and not really going to be able to change plays or change the game. Jermaine Burton, I'm sorry. I am wrong. And you have proven me wrong over the last maybe 3 or 4 weeks here with the Alabama Crimson Tide, making plays one-on-one down the field, making plays against Texas A&M. Obviously, your huge day against A&M, and then you had a huge day against Tennessee as well. You can basically talk about it not being like a monster day, but it was 4 catches, 62 yards, and a touchdown on 6 targets. So your catching percentage 67%, and really, goodness gracious, 2 of your 4 catches were in the middle of all kinds of traffic. You obviously had the touchdown reception for in the middle of traffic, and then late in the game, having a third and 12, 3rd and 9, something like that, big old third down reception over the middle in between 2 or 3 guys. I really, really want to extend my apologies to Jermaine Burton and my kudos to Jermaine Burton, for really stepping up and taking this wide receiver 1 spot for the Alabama Crimson Tide. So look, yeah, Alabama gets back into the game at what, 7-7? Was that what it was? Yeah, you're at 7-13. Yeah, you're at 7-13. And you're thinking, okay, Alabama's in this. Many people are already texting me thinking, oh my gosh, Alabama's going to lose, this, that, and the other. Yeah, you're at 7-13. And Alabama, at this point, you've had 2 red zone stops. You've made some adjustments on defense. You've changed some things up. And Josh Heupel has basically already shown you some of his desperation. After the touchdown to make it 7-13, Josh Heupel goes for it on 4th down, 1 of his 3 4th down attempts, and he doesn't get it. He doesn't get it right at the Tennessee, 34-yard line? Is that it? Yeah, right at the Tennessee 34-yard line. So they're backed up. You give Alabama great field position, and yeah, it was 4th and 1, so really I would have gone for it as well. I would have. But Alabama gets it back with a chance to take the lead. And oh my gosh, backbreaking. At this point, I don't know why anyone was ready to give up on Alabama because, yeah, you've seen terrible offense. You've seen what? 1, 2, 3 punts in a row. What? 1, 2, let me count the drive chart. 3 punts in a row with a fumble until the touchdown. But you got the touchdown. You're down 13-7. You get the stop on 4th down, and you get the ball back. And literally, you are going into the end zone. Jalen Milroe going into the end zone, one-on-one pass, trying to give Jermaine Burton another shot at it. And the safety coming from over the top gets a batted ball for an interception. Oh, just horrible luck. Horrible luck for Alabama, but you're still right there in the game. And that's why I didn't understand a lot of the Alabama perspective online. You saw Adam Wheel talk about, we may never see a championship again, but I'm going to celebrate the ones that we had. You saw a lot of people getting nostalgic and thinking, oh my gosh, we're going to lose. And I just didn't understand it. I didn't understand it. Okay, yeah, Tennessee responds with an 10-play, 80-yard touchdown drive to go 20-7. Yeah, that really did sting badly. It hurt your heart badly. Alabama back out on the field on defense and really gave up the 80 yards. It stung badly. So you're down 20-7. Okay, you're down 20-7, and you're thinking, well, things haven't gone great, but you're still right there in this game. I don't understand whether it's the Alabama perspective, whether it's a college football perspective, whether it's just the way that fans are. There were so many people jumping off the boat, writing this team off, thinking that, oh gosh, it's over. We're never going to win another game. The championship, the dynasty is dead. And the game still had half of its game left. And that's what I don't understand. You had half its game left. You're down 13. You played nearly your worst half offensively that you've played, oh gosh, all year? Maybe all year? Okay, maybe not as bad as your 2 USF halves. But as bad as you've played offensively, I guess dating back to the week earlier against Arkansas, the second half against Arkansas, you still had some of the, hangover effect from the Arkansas game. That's all I don't really understand. All right, you take some of that, but do we not account that Nick Saban is on the sidelines? And look, I know I'm supposed to be objective, and I'm trying to be as objective as possible, but I did grow up in Chattanooga in the 90s, and so, yeah, beating Tennessee is really personal for me. Whenever Tennessee loses, I am very happy. I am exorbitantly happy, and I was exorbitantly happy on Saturday with the final result. But at halftime, okay, you can say, Joe, you were doubting, you were scared. I was nervous, absolutely nervous, but definitely still realizing that the game was fully in reach. At 13 points, getting the ball back in the second half, you're right there in the game. What do you need to do? What do you need to do, Nick Saban? You need to drive the field. You need to score a touchdown and cut the lead from 13-6. And what do? 2 plays later, 2 plays into the half, you do exactly that. So I don't understand. I don't understand the angst that goes into the Alabama fan base at halftime where, oh my gosh, we're going to lose. We're down 13 points. We're never going to win another game. The championship is over. The dynasties are over. Oh gosh, give Tennessee the win. There's a whole nother half here. And did you forget that Nick Saban is in the locker room? I'm sorry. I know I'm supposed to be an objective journalist, but we're talking about the single greatest college football coach of our lifetimes. Sure, some of you guys might date back to Coach Bryant, and if you do, you have definitely a debate there. But of my lifetime, certainly. Can you tell me a better college football coach since 1989? No, you cannot. I'm sorry. So you've got the single greatest college football coach on the sideline since 1989, at least, so in my lifetime, and you're down 13 points with the ball coming out. It's not like, oh gosh, you just got drummed 30-0. It's not like you're down 28-3. Oh, sorry, haven't you seen that comeback before? I know, Super Bowl, NFL, it's a whole lot different. But the Falcons, they had a quarter and a half left to burn out, and they would have won a championship. I'm sorry. It's going to take a lot more. It's going to take a lot more than a 13-point deficit against a bitter rival to sit here and say that the game is over, especially at halftime when there's plenty of time left. You're about to go make adjustments. You just drove half the field and threw a dumb interception. Yeah, it was a dumb interception into the end zone at a chance to actually take the lead. So it's not like the game is over. And that's what I don't understand about some of the Alabama fans who are so quick to, you give up a touchdown on the first drive. Oh, shoot, fire the defensive coordinator. Oh, shoot, we're going to lose. I hate seeing that tweet of we're going to lose right there off the bat. Like, no, we're not. Like, how do you, like, let the game play out? And I love a lot of my friends texting me early, a lot of my Tennessee friends, a lot of my family friends, a lot of just friends from different walks of life saying, Joe, how you feeling? And what did I say? Patience. Just patience. Just let this thing play out. These games are not won and lost in the first 6 or 7 minutes of the game. These games are not won and lost really in the first halves. You've got to let both halves play out. And so, what happened in the second half? Oh, Nick Saban says 27-0 on that volunteer behind. Oh my gosh, two plays, and Jalen Milroe is in the end zone to Isaiah Bond. All right, so after the interception, here's what I want you to realize. Jalen Milroe throws an interception into the end zone that it hurts. Yes, let's be honest. It was a bad interception. It was I'm going to give Jermaine Burton a chance, and it bounced up, and the safety took advantage of it. Was it the right throw? No, I don't think it was. Well, can you understand why Jalen Milroe threw it up to Jermaine Burton? Yes. If you've been watching their relationship over the last couple of weeks, you have seen that chance throwing it up to Jermaine Burton on a one-on-one shot is not really been that bad of odds, really, for the Alabama Crimson Tide. You've seen Jermaine Burton make that play over A&M defensive backs, and you've seen him make that play over Arkansas defensive backs. He had just caught a touchdown pass, a drive earlier, so it's not like it's going to be that big of a risk. Now, obviously, turned into a problem, turned into an interception, which Tennessee cashed in for its last touchdown of the game. But after the interception, and think about what Jalen Milroe has done after interceptions literally all year long outside of the Texas game. Yeah, the Texas game. Oh, hurts my soul. But after the Texas game, any interception that Jalen Milroe has thrown against Ole Miss in the first half, against A&M in the second half, any interception that he's thrown, he has bounced back very, very well. What were his numbers after the interception? 4 or 5 in the second half. Yeah, he only threw 5 bleeping passes in the second half. 4 or 5 for 103 yards on a touchdown. One of them, obviously, the long bomb to Isaiah Bond to cut the lead to 6 points. All right, so you've cut the lead to 6 points, and Tennessee gets the ball back. And I believe, let me make sure that where I'm at on my drive chart. Yeah, Tennessee gets the ball back at their own 12-yard line, right? Drive started, at their own 12-yard line, basically off that weird fair catch thing. And we'll get into officiating here in just a minute. But what happens? Alabama's defense responds. Look, you got Alabama's defense responding extremely well in the second half. They go punt. They go punt. They go on downs. They go punt again. They go fumble, punt. They go on downs, and then the game is over. So they come out, and they get the stop right off the bat, give the ball back to the offense. Now you're down 6. Okay, you work sort of a decent drive. Will Reichert field goal takes you down 3. You get a turnover on downs. Oh, my gosh, Josh Heupel. I love being aggressive. I love going forward on fourth down. And really, the first fourth down that you went for from your own 34-yard line in the first half, I was all about. You should have gone for that. Now, was it a little bit of a suspect spot on third down? I think it was. I'll be honest. I do think it was. But you went for it on fourth down, and you got stuffed. Joe Milton got stuffed on the edge. And so I think that I agree with going forward on fourth down, but the fourth down play calls were horrendous. You go for it again on your own. Let's see. This is from your own 25-yard line, right? 47. Excuse me. This is on your own 47-yard line. That's where your drive started. Tennessee's drive started on the 4. They punted. Then the next drive started on the 25. They turned it over on downs right at midfield on your own 47. The play calling on fourth down was absolutely horrendous. It's 4th and short, and you're in the shotgun literally all 3 times. You're in the shotgun all 3 times, and quarterback keeper on 2 of them, and then you run an inside zone, basically power play to the running back on the middle one, the one that I'm talking about right now, the first 4th down of the second half. And what does Alabama do? You stuff it. Jahad Campbell and company stuffs it, and you march right down the field, and you go from down 3 to up 4 on a Jace McClellan touchdown run. And at that point, the game is not over, but it's trending to be over. You're in the balance. You're in the balance. Tennessee gets the ball again on their own 25-yard line. They only go, 7 yards. They go 3 plays. Yeah. They go 3 plays, 7 yards, and they punt the ball again. Really, that fastball offense, the fast-paced offense, Nick Saban was talking about, they run 2.7 plays per minute. That fast-paced offense is really, really good when you can get things going. Coach Saban even talked about it on Hey Coach, about how Alabama's offense likes to play with tempo, but it's a double-edged sword. It's a double-edged sword. If you are getting things going, then of course you're in rhythm. Of course you're hurting the defense. It comes down to execution, and Coach Saban really hammering that, emphasizing that, and Tennessee in the second half largely did not execute. So what happens? Alabama gets the punt again. You drive the field, and you get, boom, a 50-yard bomb from Will Reichert to go up 3 to up 7. And Will Reichert, remembering his missed kick from last year, that's the last time Will Reichert has missed a kick, was up there in Knoxville, talking before the game to Jenny Dell and telling her that kick still haunts him. And I totally believe it, because that was a kick that was within his range, would have given Alabama the 52-49 lead. Instead, it spotted Tennessee up for their last drive of the game. And you know what happened after that. All right, so the next drive, Alabama's up 7, and the momentum is just mounting. It's been already mounted from really the first drive of the second half. The 2 plays and touchdown bomb, and Tennessee, you're on the ropes at that point. Bryant-Denny Stadium is on tilt at that point. Bryant-Denny Stadium is ready to get, literally the desperation that I just kind of a little bit poked fun at the Alabama Nation. Oh, the game is over. The desperation was fully out on display at the start of the second half. And it was palpable in the crowd. It was palpable in Bryant-Denny Stadium. And I think that really they were getting after it at that point. And so, boom, you get the 50-yard field goal. You're only down 7 points now, Tennessee. You're only down 7 points now. And the game's got, 8, 9 minutes left in the ball game. Actually, I believe it still had a whole nother quarter left. Yeah. So the fumble, no, that was in the fourth quarter. Yep, I'm following the drive chart. Excuse me. You have 8 minutes left in the game. 8 minutes left in the game. You're down just 7 points. And what's the drive chart say? You go 3 plays minus 1 yard. And on that third play, oh my gosh, Chris Braswell comes around the top of the edge. And look, I know Dallas Turner. I love you, Dallas Turner. Dallas Turner has received a lot of the accolades, a lot of the attention for being the star stud edge rusher. And he absolutely is a stud. He's an absolute beast. He is a madman on the edge who I do not want to block, and I don't have any answers blocking. You saw him last week against Arkansas, cutting back to the inside and really ending the game, ending Arkansas's comeback chances, getting a big old sack on KJ Jefferson. So Dallas Turner absolutely deserves his due. And yeah, did he end up having a sack in this game? I think he did. Dallas Turner, yeah, 5 tackles, 3 for a loss, 1 sack, 1 sack on the ball game. But it was Chris Braswell's pressure that ultimately got the sack fumble on Joe Milton. And you saw my man Jahad Campbell come around the edge, scoop and score, and boom, Alabama goes from up 7 to up 14. And the door is essentially slammed shut in the game. From there, the game is pretty much over. You have the fumble. Tennessee punts on their next play. Three plays, 1 yard, and a punt. Alabama, they're only able to put together a short little drive. They were able to hold the ball for 2 minutes and 53 seconds, but 3 plays, 9 yards, and a punt. Tennessee goes for it again on their next play on downs. Alabama punts on their next, and then the game is over. So, how does it feel? Alabama, you got the win back over Tennessee. You got the win back over Tennessee to basically right all the wrongs. Everything that was wrong in the world last year after Tennessee rushed the field through the goalpost into the river, everything that was wrong in the world is now right. And I am so thankful from an Alabama perspective. I'm so thankful from a guy who grew up right there in Chattanooga, a guy who has a lot of Tennessee fan friends. And yeah, to my friends, I'm sorry. I'm sorry that you go home sad. Not really. I'm not that sorry. I know people have gone out on social media this week and said, oh, it was Alabama's Super Bowl. No, it's not Alabama's Super Bowl, but it's just one of those games that just means a lot. I know Tennessee has not been a premier program over the last 17 years, but winning 16 out of 17, it just means a lot. And to have Tennessee, look, I don't know if you heard me on the program last week or if you heard me with Michael Bronner down in Mobile, 105.1 or 105.5 WNSP. I said it, and I'm sorry if any Tennessee fan disagrees with me, but they are the nastiest people in the world in the SEC. They handle winning so poorly, and they did last year by rushing the field, tearing down the goalpost, and acting like they'd won everything. You see the commemorative coffee table books out of one win, you beat an Alabama team that didn't even make the playoffs. Great job. Good job. You beat Bryce Young, and yes, it took 17 penalties to do it. It took a couple of targeting calls that weren't called on Bryce Young to do it the week after his injury. Yeah, Alabama should have won last year. Jahmyr Gibbs, you dropped the ball. You dropped the ball that would have set up Will Reichert on a chip shot field goal to win. But you didn't. That's not what happened. Well, that's not what happened. Tennessee won last year, and they acted like the world was ending. They acted like they had conquered the world, that they were going to the college football playoff, that they were going to be the national champions. They're the nastiest winners in the world, and you're seeing it now over the last 3 days on social media. They're also the worst losers in the SEC. How many screenshots have you seen about the officials, the calls this, the calls that? Here's the deal. Look, Alabama fans who cried about calls last year, you're losers. I'm sorry, you are. Tennessee fans who cry about officials this year, you're losers too. I'm sorry, you are. Look, I grew up playing high school football, average Andy athlete, never going to make it in college football, never. And that's fine. But you realize that you're going to get good calls, you're going to get bad calls, officials are going to make calls, and officials are going to miss calls. It's a part of the game. Literally happens every game, every year. What it is and what it isn't, there's no conspiracy for Alabama or against Alabama. You can look back over over the Nick Saban year period and see that Alabama is in the top 30% of penalties called against them, and the bottom 30% of penalties called for them. Like, this is just over the course of time, the statistics have bared out. There's no officiating bias for Alabama, and there's no officiating bias against Alabama either. I truly do not believe that, and if you want to call me naive, you can. Look, you can go back and point out screenshots for Tennessee, screenshots for Alabama, both in this game and in last year's game. And what do I say about last year's game? Okay, yeah, you get the interception at the very end of the game that would have won the game for Alabama, but got called back for pass interference, yada, yada, yada. Who cares? Was it pass interference? Who knows? I don't think it was, but what it ended up being was pass interference, because that's what the officials called. The officials called pass interference last year, gave the ball back to Tennessee. Tennessee cashed in with a touchdown, and the game went on as called. What do? You have to play the game. You have to play every single play. Just like, okay, go. Let's take it outside of Alabama and Tennessee. Think about New Orleans and the Rams, and the LA Rams. What, 4 years ago, 4 years ago, Drew Brees throws it down into the end zone, and it should have been a pass interference call. It should have been. The guy knocked the New Orleans receiver out before the ball got to him. Should have been pass interference, but it wasn't called. I'm sorry, Saints fans, it wasn't called. So they kick a field goal. There's more time left on the clock. And what? The Rams went down and scored a touchdown to win the game. And people are saying, oh, well, the officials screwed New Orleans. They screwed New Orleans. Okay, was it a bad call? Yeah, it was a bad call. Did New Orleans still have a lot more chance in that game to win the game? Absolutely. By executing in the red zone, by making a defensive stop. There are ways that you can overcome. You can play better than the rest. You know what you don't do against Alabama when you get bad calls? You don't go for it on fourth down and call the most basic play calls on fourth down right into the teeth of the Alabama defense. You know what you do? You get out on the edge. You challenge Alabama out on the edge, and you try to get 2 or 3 yards on the edge. You move a tight end across the formation. You try to get a running back across the formation. You try to get crossers, and you try to utilize space. You don't go right at Alabama, Josh Heupel. I'm sorry. You made some dumb calls. Your offense executed at a poor rate. Now, look, go back earlier in the game. Earlier in the game, the second drive, the Tennessee settles for a field goal. The ball bounces. Joe Milton throws it right into the end zone. The Tennessee tight end, it goes off of his hands and goes for an incompletion on third down. How about you catch the dang ball, Tennessee tight end? Catch the ball in the end zone and take your touchdown and punish the Alabama offense for not executing early in the game. I'm sorry. I have no patience, no sympathy for blame the ref talk. None at all. Not for New Orleans Saints when they cried about it with the Rams. Not for Alabama. Not for Alabama last year. Okay, were some of the calls questionable for or against Alabama? Should Bryce Young have gotten a targeting call or at least a roughing the passer call here or there? Probably so, but who cares? You play the next play. You continue to play. You try to execute at the best of your own abilities. You don't turn and say, well, Stripes just had it against us this week. I'm sorry. The Alabama fans who cried about last year's officiating sounded like whiny losers to me. And Tennessee, the fans right now who are crying about the made and missed calls. Oh, you should have been a holding on the touchdown pass to Isaiah Bond. Well, should it have been? Sure, I will agree with that. The call was missed. It was absolutely missed. But is it a tough call? It's tough to deal with that, sure. But you're still up. At that point, 6 points. What do you need to do? Not get called for a fair catch call that downs you on the 4-yard line. Not go 3 and out and punt the ball. Not go for it on your own 40-yard line and mess up and ultimately giving the ball back to Alabama right at midfield, giving them a short field. I'm sorry. With Alabama's poor offensive execution and really going into the ball game, Tennessee's great pass rush. Tennessee ultimately ended up getting 4 sacks in the game. Tennessee's great pass rush. I am kicking that dadgum ball away every single time. And I'm going to make Jalen Milroe, and I'm going to make the offensive line. I'm going to make everybody execute all the way down the field. What was Alabama's longest drive? What was the Crimson Tide's longest drive? Alabama's longest drive was 75 yards. Was the drive to start off the second half. Other than that, you got a touchdown drive of 59 yards, a field goal drive of 56, and a field goal drive of 46 yards. And then, of course, your touchdown to basically take the lead with Jace McClellan was just 5-play, 47-yard drive. Why do you not kick the ball away? Why do you not make the Alabama drive the ball down the field? I get going forward on fourth down. I do. I get the aggression. I absolutely do. I like aggressive calls. I think I think you should believe in your own offense, believe in your own team. Absolutely. But goodness gracious, Josh Heupel, you're putting your defense in a terrible situation against an offense that has been mediocre at best. I mean, I like the Alabama offense. I like what Alabama can do on offense, but let's be honest with ourselves. The consistency for the Alabama offense has not really been there, has been poor at best, really poor at best. So what are you doing? Going forward on fourth down, giving Alabama short fields, going right at, look, Alabama's defense has been arguably the best defense in the conference, arguably the best defense in the league. So you're going to allow the best defense in the league to make big old plays, to make plays that give Alabama's team as a whole great confidence and great momentum. It just doesn't make sense. And I'm sorry. Yes, some of the officials missed some calls. You missed some calls on the holding for J.C. Latham right there on the touchdown pass. You did. I get that. And I'll give you that, Tennessee fans. And I'll be honest with you, I didn't like the late in the game pass interference call on Jermaine Burton, the holding call that Jermaine Burton called Drew. I didn't, just from a football standpoint. I thought it was pretty ticky-tacky. Now, was the fair catch call legal, or was the fair catch call accurate? Josh Heupel said it himself that it was accurate. It was accurate on Monday. Now, is it letter of the law? Sure. But yeah, you just don't do that. You don't leave, Granted, flip side, Alabama fans are going to sit here and say, but Joe, you're right. What about the kid who hammered Roydell Williams in the back of the head? Hammered him in the back of the head. Shouldn't that have been personal foul, 15 yards, unnecessary roughness? I think it should have been. I think there are missed calls on every single play. Every single play. You can call holding on pretty much every play. And I think that it's really up to the referee's discretion on the game. Now, is that why you lost, Tennessee? No, it's not why you lost. I promise you it's not why you lost. Why you lost was awful second half execution. And really, you lost control of the game. Risky calls. Josh Heupel made some desperate calls. And look, if you're going to go for it on fourth down, sure, fine. But don't run right into the teeth of the Alabama defense. I think that's incredibly dumb. I think that's highly, highly stupid to do. Yeah, I know Alabama's been soft up front the last couple of years, but this year's defense is much different. This year's defense is mean. This year's defense, I believe, to be one of Alabama's best. Maybe not quite 2016, maybe not quite 2011 or 2009, but one of Alabama's best under Nick Saban. I definitely agree. Now, you lost Terry Arnold in the game to a mild concussion, and Alabama's very, very fortunate, in my opinion, to, one, have Trey Amos come into the game and play very, very well. I think Trey Amos did acquit himself very well. Coach Saban talking about the play that Jahad Campbell ended up scoring on would have likely ended up in a Trey Amos interception. Secondarily, you're fortunate that Alabama is on a bye week. I'm very happy that Alabama is on a bye week. Everybody gets a little bit of a break. The players, the coaches, ourselves, we get a little bit of a breather. We can talk about basketball a little bit. We can talk about other teams a little bit. We can talk about college football a little bit as a whole. I'm excited that Alabama is on a bye week. I hope you all enjoy your bye week. On Saturday, men, go do something for your wives or your significant others. Go do something for your family. Score you some brownie points as the stretch run of the season is coming to a stretch run, coming to a close. And you're going to want to have your Saturdays, especially next Saturday and 3 Saturdays from now, LSU and Auburn are coming up on tap. So go score yourself some brownie points by getting out of the house. Take everybody to the pumpkin patch. Go do something Halloween-y. Enjoy your families on the bye week Saturday. I'm excited for bye week Saturday. I'm going to watch Alabama baseball. We'll watch Alabama baseball for BamaCentral.com. It'll start at noon at the Joe. It'll be free for you guys. Alabama will play Florida State in 2 7-inning exhibitions, and I'll be there for BamaCentral.com, so you guys can follow along with me at BamaCentral.com. But look, you have Tennessee, who really urinated the game away. That's what it was. Urinated the game away. And really I think the fans right now are dealing with the fact that they had Alabama down and out at 13-point lead. Look, if Tennessee doesn't allow the 75-yard touchdown drive to start the second half, if they get instead a stop on downs and ultimately end up cashing in with even a field goal, to take a 13-point lead to 16 points right there in the second half, you probably win. I think it just shows great resilience, great effort on the part of Alabama. And Nick Saban talking about this year's team really, really testing his patience, but enjoying this year's team's ability to really fight through adversity. He said he came into the locker room saying, all right, it's time to make a choice, guys. What do you want to do? What do you want to accomplish? Who do you want to be? And the guys really, really responded. All right, one more point on the game, and then we will talk about Michigan, their scouting, and college football as a whole. You're listening to the Joe Gaither Show right here on YouTube, on Facebook, on Twitter. You're listening to us on Apple Podcasts, on Amazon, and on Spotify. Go tell a friend about the program. Subscribe, rate, review the program as we continue to break down the Alabama football season week by week by week. All right, so last point is while Alabama's in the bye week, Nick Saban, you got to do something. I know, Nick Saban, you were up at the Birmingham Quarterback Club on Monday, and I know Alabama is back to practice Tuesday, Wednesday, and Thursday. Alabama will take Friday off. Nick Saban's leaving town Friday to go to the lake for Thursday evening and Friday day. I think he's going to go Friday day and Saturday day. But Nick Saban, you got to do something. I need you to do something real bad. And look, I love you, Kool-Aid McKinstry. I do. Kool-Aid is a hell of a player, a hell of a corner. But Kool-Aid has been broken in one area of his game. All right, I know I complain about Kool-Aid and his mouthpiece usage. This is not about that. That is a personal problem that I have, not a Kool-Aid problem, not an Alabama problem. That's a Joe Gaither problem. Kool-Aid, you can wear your mouthpiece however the hell you want to, as long as you keep covering wide receivers the way you are, as long as you keep locking down one side of the field. But Kool-Aid, we got a problem. We have an Alabama problem with you, Kool-Aid McKinstry, and it is in the punt return game. Oh, my gosh. 3 weeks in a row. At least 3 weeks in a row. I've started making cut-ups of Kool-Aid McKinstry avoiding catching the ball. Now, Kool-Aid, look. You are one of the best athletes on the field, and I cannot hold a candle. I cannot hold a candle to your athleticism. If I were running a route against you, Kool-Aid, you could guard me blindfolded, laughing all the way. Absolutely. But Kool-Aid, what are we going to do here, buddy? You're giving up lots and lots of field position to the offense. And we just outlined earlier in the program the inconsistencies that the Alabama offense has had. And we just outlined the ways that Tennessee's offense and the ways that Josh Heupel had really aided Alabama's offense this past weekend. And Alabama thanks you for that, Josh Heupel. But the times where Alabama, where Josh Heupel did choose to punt, I guess in moments where it was obvious, where he wasn't really tempted to go for it on fourth down, moments where he really had to punt the ball away. Kool-Aid McKinstry, what did you catch the ball one time? One time the entire day? Now look, Kool-Aid, I love you. Let's hear that first. You're a great player first. You're absolutely an excellent player. But Kool-Aid, you are costing Jalen Milroe a lot of yards. You're costing Alabama's offense a lot of yards. And look, Kool-Aid, Alabama doesn't need you to return the ball for 60 yards and a touchdown every time. I know you have that capability. We have seen it before. You're a hell of a returner when you get the ball, when you catch the ball, and you're a hell of a returner when you got a block or two in front of you. You are one of the best athletes on the field, and you are one of the best players with the ball in your hands. But Kool-Aid, the first step of punt returning is catching the gosh darn football. I'm sorry, catch the gosh darn football, Kool-Aid. Whether you need to wait for a fair catch and not return it, it's fine. You don't need to return it. You don't need to return another kick if you don't want to. You don't need to put yourself in harm's way. And I don't know if it is an issue about I don't want to get hit. I don't want to get hit in the open field. I don't want to take a gunner's shot to my chest or to my head. I don't want to put myself in harm's way. That could be it. I think that's a small percentage of it. But Kool-Aid, what I really think it is you bobbled some balls this year. You muffed some punts. Now I don't think Kool-Aid's afraid of getting hit. I don't think so at all. Now, could he be more physical on the defense side of the ball in run support? Sure, yeah, he could. But I don't think he's really inherently afraid of being hit. What I think is dating back to the USF game and a couple of other times in this season, he has muffed punts. And that has really gotten in his head, at least from my perspective, my amateur eyes. And Kool-Aid, I'm sorry, we got whatever you got to do in these 10 days. You either need to figure it the bleep out, or we need to put Isaiah Bond. You need to put Jermaine Burton. You need to put Caleb Downs. You need to put Terry Arnold. You need to figure out somebody else, Coach Saban, to put back there. And even if they don't give you one single return yard, it doesn't matter. It doesn't matter if you don't get another return yard the rest of the year. You cannot, for the life of you, Alabama, you cannot have the punt fall down 2 or 3 feet away from the punt returner and then roll another 5, 10, 15, 20 yards down the field and give the team that much more field position. I'm sorry, Kool-Aid. Do we love you? Of course we love you. You're one of the most beloved players on this team. But what you cannot do the rest of the year, I'm sorry, the next time you wait for a fair catch and move away from the ball anyways, I'm sorry. You got to be out of there. Coach Saban, please. I know the next game that I coach will be my first, and I may be way out of line giving you any sort of suggestions. But what you've got to do is get a gosh darn punt returner who's going to catch the gosh darn ball. It's a problem for Alabama. It's a problem for Alabama. And Kool-Aid, as much as we love you, as great of an athlete as you are, if you don't want to catch the ball, if you're afraid of muffing the ball, if you're afraid of getting hit, whatever the case may be, I don't want to put myself in your shoes or in your brain because I don't belong in your shoes or in your brain. I cannot hold a candle to your athleticism. Your God-given ability is by far away far greater than I have ever had and than I could ever imagine. I have caught a punt or two in a football practice or two, but never in a game situation. So I cannot sit there and say that anybody would be, who would be better. But coach, you've got to figure out somebody who's at least going to catch the ball. At least catch the ball, whether it's Justice Haynes, whether it's Roydell Williams, whether it's a wide receiver, Malik Benson, whether it's Burton, whether it's Bond, whoever it is, whether it's Ja'Cory Brooks, it doesn't matter. Somebody needs to catch these punts and quit giving away an extra 10 to 15 yards of field position. It just has to happen going forward. You got 4 more games left in the regular season. And Alabama, you've got to win them all. You have to win them all. You literally cannot drop another game. But look at the rest of the college football landscape. Look at Washington, Oklahoma, Michigan, Ohio State, Florida State. There are teams that are, and Georgia, of course. Cannot leave out the Georgia Bulldogs, the 2-time national champions. Look at these other schools who have the inside track for the college football playoff. You have to start improving in a lot of these other areas. One being offensive execution, and one area right now that's really bugging me watching Alabama football games is punt returning. Do you need 5 yards of punt return? Do you need 20 yards of punt return? No, you don't need any yards of punt return. You could live with 0 yards of punt return for the next 4 games and beyond. You could. But what you cannot live with the rest of the year is the ball bouncing and going 5, 10, 15, 20 yards back and putting the Alabama offense back on the goal line, back inside the 5, back inside the 10, whatever the case may be. And Kool-Aid, do I believe you can do this? Yes. I've seen you do it. I know you can do it. I know you can catch a punt. But that's all you need. That's all Alabama needs is for you to catch the punt and get the offense, give the ball back to the offense in decent field position. So that's my spiel on Kool-Aid McKinstry. That's my spiel on some of the game. Now here's the deal. I'm going to be rewatching the game tonight. I was sick as I was not feeling good yesterday. I didn't do any work yesterday, and for that I apologize to you, the listener, to you, the viewer, to everybody who follows BamaCentral. I deeply apologize because I just was completely out of it. It was completely out of my own brain. So I'm going to be rewatching the game. You will see the X number of things that I noticed about the Tennessee game on BamaCentral's website tomorrow, and I'll be able to talk even more in depth about what Alabama did from an X's and O's standpoint, from a schematic standpoint. Nick Saban moving from odd front to an even front, said that it shored up the defensive run support, said that it shored up the pass protection, the pass coverage. You saw Chris Braswell going all the way back to the beginning of the conversation. You saw Chris Braswell give up the touchdown to Squirrel White. Well, if you were able to watch it from the top-end perspective, you also saw Caleb Downs and Kool-Aid McKinstry really confused on that snap. And I think the coach changing up the front and changing up the coverages on the back end eliminated some of that confusion and thus really allowed the Alabama defense to clamp down on the Tennessee offense. Now, we're going to keep moving for the rest of the week. Alabama, Tennessee. We'll start getting into Alabama, LSU. I've reached out to 12 big-name guests. We're not going to tease any of them because I've gotten a couple of nibbles, but nobody's really bitten down and committed to join me. Hopefully, we will get a big-name guest or 3 the rest of the week right here on the Joe Gaither Show. We'd love to have several of the guests that I've reached out to, and I think that you would love to hear from them. We'll see if that ends up happening. But yeah, we'll stick with us the rest of the week. We'll break down more Alabama, Tennessee. We'll start getting into Alabama, LSU. We'll talk about Alabama, TCU just a little bit. But first, you got to listen to Blue Collar Unplugged. Those guys hammering the Alabama, TCU game. We'll talk about Alabama and Wake Forest basketball getting going. We'll talk about Alabama, Florida State football getting going. The soccer team is having they just wrapped up their home season. Big loss on Sunday against Mississippi State. Not good, not fun. But we'll see what they are able to do as the SEC tournament approaches. We'll just keep covering all the Alabama sports. I want to say a big thank you to my friend Christy Curry, my friend Sarah Ashley Barker, and Loyal McQueen, Alabama women's basketball players who joined me on this show. They joined me on Thursday's edition. You can see them on the back end of the conversation that I had with Dan Harrelson. You can see that on YouTube, on Facebook, Twitter. Again, listen to it on Spotify, Apple Podcasts, and on Amazon. All right, so last topic before I get out of here is on Michigan. If you guys are following college football, oh my gosh, the Michigan Wolverines, oh my gosh, and Mr. Harbaugh, Jimmy Harbaugh, oh my gosh, Jimmy is in trouble. And here's the deal. Do not mess with the NCAA. Don't mess with them. Don't mess with the NCAA and don't lie to them. Especially, look, don't lie to them on something so benign as COVID visits. We saw, obviously, Tennessee had some COVID visits, and they got majorly busted. But I think they really wanted to get busted at such a level that Jeremy Pruitt got really raked over the coals, and they were able to save a lot of money. Jim Harbaugh lied about COVID visits and tried to get himself slapped with a 3-game suspension from his own university. And now, over the last week and change, oh, Jimmy Harbaugh, you're in trouble. You're in bad trouble, man. It sounds like Jim Harbaugh and his Michigan Wolverines have been violating some scouting rules in the NCAA. Now, look, whether you agree that scouting, in-person scouting should be legal or shouldn't be legal, and whether you agree that using recording devices should or shouldn't be legal is neither here nor there. I personally have no issue with scouting another team or trying to steal signals. If I am coaching a football team, I am hopeful that my assistants are picking up on signals from the other sidelines. I definitely am. Now, the issue is you cannot go to other teams' games in person, filming sidelines with the sole purpose of stealing signs. And it sounds like Jim Harbaugh has had a member of his Michigan staff doing that for the last 3 years. Oh my gosh. You're in trouble, my guy. You're absolutely in trouble. You were at the Ohio State Georgia game last year. Unfortunately, you didn't go to any TCU games. You look at the Big Ten record. Look, if I'm a Big Ten university member, if I'm Northwestern, if I'm Indiana, if I'm Illinois, Purdue, if I'm Wisconsin, if I'm Michigan State, not so much Ohio State, but a little bit Ohio State. But if I'm some of these smaller time schools, imagine. You're playing against Michigan. You're recruiting against them on the recruiting trail. All right, that's fine. They have a lot more money than you. They have a lot better facilities than you do. They have a lot more tradition than you do. Okay, that's fine. They beat you on the recruiting trail for Johnny X, Johnny 5-star. All right, no problem. That stuff is going to happen. But it also, instead of just beating you on the recruiting trail and bringing in better talent than you could bring in, sorry, Northwestern, you can't bring in a whole lot of great talent. Sorry, Purdue, not a whole lot of Drew Brees is coming to your school anymore. Like, I'm sorry, Indiana and Illinois. I know Indiana's got the little McMahon kid, and that's a cool story. But, like, you don't have the same talent coming in that Michigan and Ohio State and Penn State has. If you're Rutgers, I would be so I'd be so irritated. I'd be so angry because not only are you beating us probably fairly on the recruiting trail, especially now that NIL is a thing. You're probably throwing around NIL deals and NIL dollars for Johnny 5-star, and okay, you can do that. That's no problem. But the issue is you're not only beating us where you have more resources with NIL, with recruiting, with this, that, and the other. Okay, that's cool. Whatever. You got a better player. You got a better roster. But not only that, you have to send coaches to our games to steal signals because you either A, can't scout on your own. You can't draw tendencies from the game tape that everyone and their mother sends back and forth to one another. I'm sorry. You can't figure out our tendencies off of that. It's not like you're bad coaches. Your talent alone can't be better than us. You can't give us a chance. I'm sorry. You see what happens when they play TCU. They gave up 51 bleeping points and lose the college football playoff. Why? Because they never sent anybody to a TCU game to steal the TCU signs. And boom, as soon as you get into a game where you don't have the other team's signs, you look like, a real close game. You look like, I don't know how to stop a nosebleed. Our third down defense is really bad. Our third down defense is faltered. It's unbelievable. It's unbelievable. It's absolutely laughable and disrespectful. If you're Ohio State, oh my gosh, I think I would. I know I said earlier I may not be as mad, but Ohio State, put about it from an Alabama perspective. Let's just put it as Alabama. Let's say that Tennessee or Auburn is doing this. And for the last 2 years, Tennessee or Auburn has beaten you after many years. Tennessee, great example. Tennessee, you go 15 years beating them, and then they win 2 in a row. And you're like, dang, that really stinks. The rivalry's flipped. And then you figure out they won those 2 games in a row because they stole your signs illegally? Oh my gosh, I would want to burn Michigan I would want to burn Tennessee to the ground in that situation. I would. To steal. Look, I'm all about getting the best competitive edge. I really am. I think if you can figure out another team's signals from the skybox and you are able to take advantage of it, go for it. Do it, my man. But the problem is you're sending people in-person scouting. And look, I might sound ignorant. It might go on all the time. But really why this is getting uncovered is because Jimmy Harbaugh lied to the NCAA. You lie to the NCAA, they're going to come poking around looking for more stuff. They're going to come poking around looking for more problems, and they're going to try to bust you. They're going to try to bend you over their knee and bust you. And now, Jimmy Harbaugh, you're getting busted. You're getting bent over the knee. And it's, just karma. Honestly, it's karma. I didn't think there was ever going to be a day where you left Michigan and went back to the NFL. I know a lot of people, you guys know, I'm a big Bears fan. A lot of my Bears fans friends are saying, yes, let's go get Jim Harbaugh. Let's bring him in. No, I don't want Jim Harbaugh because he's shown you that he can't coach without cheating. He can't coach without stealing signals. Look, it's like playing a video game power-up. If I play with my power-up and I've got super speed, yada, 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 whatever game you want to play, and I'm dominating my game because not only do I have super speed, but, I also have the best player in the game with my NIL dollars. And the second that you take away my super speed and the talent is a little closer with TCU, obviously Michigan more talented than TCU last year. Point blank. I'm sorry. Yeah, TCU had a great team. They did have a great team. And I know they lost 65-7 to Georgia, but they had a pretty good team. Did they have a team as talented as Michigan? No. Let's be honest with ourselves. They didn't. But they ended up playing against Michigan. Michigan didn't know how to play. It's like, we forgot how to game plan for a team that we don't have signals for. We don't really have a great plan for a team that we don't have signals for. We can stare over to the sidelines and say, hey, they're running a sprint draw. Let's load the box and key in on the running back. Hey, they're running a slant. Hey, they're running RPO. Hey, they're running this, they're running that. Let's stop it. Oh my gosh, I would be so livid from a Big Ten perspective. If I'm Northwestern, if I'm Indiana, if I'm Purdue, if I'm any of these Big Ten schools that are operating, that are fighting uphill. You already know you're playing the Ohio States of the world, the Penn States of the world. You're playing the Michigans of the world. These are blue blood type programs. Sorry, Penn State, you're not quite there, but you're close. Ohio State, Michigan, blue bloods of college football. And the blue bloods are the ones cheating to keep you down? That's absurd. It's laughable. And really, NCAA, you should rake the coals, rake Michigan over the coals, and really punish them very, very harshly, in my opinion. Will that keep Michigan out of the college football playoffs? Might. But what I think it will do is this coming, a couple of weeks from now when Michigan plays Penn State, and at the last week of the season when Michigan plays Ohio State and they don't have their signals stolen anymore, I think you're going to see a beatdown of great proportion from Penn State and from Ohio State. I think that would be great karma. And so we'll get out of here on that note. You can chime in on the cheating. You can chime in on the signal stealing. right there on the Facebook, on the Twitter, on the YouTube at Joe Gaither 6. You can shoot me a friend request on Instagram, Snapchat, wherever you want to at Joe Gaither 6. This is the Joe Gaither Show on Bama Central and BamaCentral.com. We're going to be back with the rest of the week. I'm feeling a lot better. I got my H2O. I'm chugging the water. I'm feeling a lot better. I'm sorry I missed your days yesterday. I'm hopeful to be back the rest of the week and get you ready for LSU in 2 weeks. So be with us on BamaCentral.com. Subscribe to the other Bama Central Broadcasting Network podcast. Our friends, Blue Collar Unplugged, just dropped their latest episode. Matthew Gibson, Blake Byler, and Jacob Pickle. We are so thankful for those guys giving you great content. Alabama basketball is coming up very, very soon, and we'll be talking about it right here as well on the Joe Gaither Show on Bama Central and BamaCentral.com.